Hey ladies, Justin here, and today I wanted to film a quick video for you guys kind of describing the, unrecognized pathogenesis or development of PCOS. So a lot of this stuff is, information that your doctor isn't telling you, unfortunately. And so I want to go over this in a very brief video, keeping it as simple as possible because it can get very confusing. So you have an understanding of why PCOS is the way it is and why you're stuck with these symptoms, okay? So this is this messy illustration I put together. So I know it looks like a very crazy roadmap, and this is all very true. These aren't arbitrary like arrows and lines I threw together. So there's a massive connection and interconnectedness between all these different factors. So this is what I talk about when I say that PCOS is a lot more complicated than you think, because you probably know that it's an insulin resistant problem for most women. Over at least 50% of women at least have insulin resistance, which feeds into inflammation, right? So it's a bidirectional pathway between insulin resistance and inflammation. Inflammation is pretty much the underpinning of any sort of chronic disease, right? So we know that. Now we have issues with estrogen, which is something that isn't discussed a lot. And the reason why that is because when you have insulin resistance, right, you're in a state of more, higher insulin in the body than you want. And so that causes aromatization in the cells. So it converts testosterone into estrogen. And so that's a problem there, right? And when you have high estrogen states, that's when you have a lot of issues with basically it shuts down your reproductive cycle, so that's why it causes anovulation and infertility issues too. So it raises luteinizing hormone, which sometimes is evident in people with PCOS, depending on the type. And estrogen causes liver toxicity issues because whether it's internally produced or xenoestrogen related, like BPA or plastics or things in the environment that cause an overload the liver. And when you have liver toxicity, which is also a major issue with people with PCOS, I see it all the time. High liver enzymes, you can see it on a scan, fatty liver. That's also due to insulin issues and fatty acids that are accumulating in the liver due to insulin resistance as well. So that leads you into like cirrhosis and steatohepatitis potentially, and liver problem, major liver disease. So you can see how PCOS can really lead you down a very steep slope. So yeah, high estrogen is a problem. And then we run into gut issues. So gut health, dysbiosis, bacteria imbalances, very, very unrecognized. We don't talk about this a lot. But when you have gut issues, when you have a lot of stress, this all causes dysbiosis, leaky gut maybe. But really, it's not uncommon to see women with like SIBO and candida and other overgrowth, right, in their gut. And then that causes more inflammation as well. So you can see how messy this is, but like even things like psychological stress, right? How's your day looking like? Overcommitment, your work life, your social life, domestic life, your relationships with your husband, your kids, right? All that stuff, chemical exposure, physical exercise, and even like something like keto, right? We talk about keto a lot. It's a hot thing right now. That could be very stressful to the body. It actually raises cortisol for a lot of women, especially those who have the lean, PCOS type. They're not obese, right? Because we talk about how PCOS does not discriminate. It affects all people of all shapes and sizes. All right. So this stress issue really is a huge factor here because I see this all the time. And actually, in all honesty, even if we control all these other variables, people who are high achievers, very OCD type A, overcommitted, very stressed about their school, their work, whatever, they don't see full resolution of their symptoms no matter what, because the stress is that powerful and really disrupting all of this. So yeah, cortisol, high stress, stress-induced cortisol causes anovulation issues, amenorrhea. I see it all the time. It causes high androgen, so high DHEA, high testosterone, and the lean PCOS type that can get your adrenals to really fire up. And then this can cause inflammation, of course, cause gut issues, and then it can cause insulin resistance too. So, you know, everything's really like connected here. It's crazy. But my point here is that when you factor in, when you account for everything, you resolve all of it, right? And that is exactly what I do in my PCOS Powerhouse program, instead of using birth control like your doctor will give you. And so here's the thing. When you take birth control, what happens? It causes gut issues. It causes more gut problems and dysbiosis and bacterial imbalances and candida and yeast overgrowth. It causes inflammation. We know that for sure. It causes high estrogen because, you know, these synthetic hormones really disrupt your hormones in general. You can't make your own. So you're flooding your body with synthetics. And generally speaking, depending on the type of birth control, hormonal birth control that is, you're using, you know, if you're using like Mirena, the mini pill, right? Those are Nexplanon, you know, the subdermal implant, things like that. I mean, generally you're going to have a higher estrogen, lower progesterone, and you know, having a low progesterone is not conducive at all to good health. It's very, very important for suppressing inflammation. But anyway, so birth control will do that. It'll cause high estrogen in the body, which is not a good thing because it does all this stuff too, as we saw before, and it causes insulin resistance too. And then what happens? It causes anxiety and depression for a lot of people. And then what happens when you have anxiety and depression? You take a benzodiazepine or an SSRI. Hello Zoloft, hello Xanax. I mean, that's how it goes. It sucks because like this is a byproduct of birth control. Your brain isn't broken. You have depression because PCOS causes depression, but so does birth control, right? So in order to resolve your mood issues, you got to resolve the underlying root problems of PCOS and also understand that birth control has a powerful impact on really disrupting your mood. We know that for sure. Levonorgestrel, the most powerful progestin or synthetic progesterone right now, does that. It causes alteration in the brain. We've seen that in studies and things like that. So just something to consider. And when you don't need this, when you don't need birth control, then you don't need an SSRI or benzodiazepine. Okay, so to really sum it all up here, what I focus on in my work with my clients who find full resolution and reversal of their PCOS, we look at inflammation, we look at hormones. So that includes everything from insulin resistance, like we spoke about, androgens, cortisol, estrogen, luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, detoxification. So that's obviously looking at liver support, as we said up here, gallbladder, and looking at toxins. See when you're exposed to. There's a lot of toxins right now in our environment that are disrupting our hormones and causing inflammation and gut health issues too. And then, of course, we look at your gut health and see if there's any overgrowth going on there, but chances are there is something going on and there's some sort of dysfunction that is occurring. So all of this leads to this series of symptoms right here: weight gain, acne, fatigue, hair growth or hair loss, skin tags, depression, and skin hyperpigmentation. You don't need to have all of these, but I mean, at least one or two is very common, and maybe more than that, right? A lot of you guys have depression, a lot of you have acne, a lot of you have fatigue, and a lot of you have weight gain, obviously. So this is the real quick Cliff Notes version of the pathogenesis of PCOS, but you know, just got to understand that there are a lot of variables here you have to look at if you really want to heal, but it is absolutely doable 100% of the time. I've seen it happen with my clients, and so you're not doomed. You have hope. And so are you going to choose to put a Band-Aid over it with metformin and birth control and look for infertility drugs like clomiphene and stuff like that where you can resolve this once and for all naturally? That's up to you to decide, but I just wanted to throw this out there and say that I hope this was helpful, and if you need any support whatsoever, you know where to find me. Thanks for watching, guys.